to be, okay, so we're going to be delving into something very, very fantastic this evening, something quite interesting. And so 1 second while I just share my screen so we get started. 1 second. Okay. My screen will share. All right. Okay, now. All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. All right, so we are going to be having an amazing session this evening, right, during this masterclass where we will be learning how to build an ETL pipeline with AWS as a cloud engineer. And we're going to be using the Spotify data set. Okay, so this is going to be an educative session for those that are absolutely new to, cloud engineering, right? You will be able to build your first ETL pipeline, and those that are actually, already in the cloud engineering space, right? But for those that don't know how to use AWS, that is the platform that we will be using this evening, right? And this is going to be an interactive session where we will be, presenting, we will be, exposing us to all of this knowledge, and you would have the opportunity to be able to ask your questions and get clarity to whatsoever you need clarity to. All right. So before we go ahead and begin, I want us to feel absolutely, welcome. I want us to feel absolutely at home, right? So why don't you drop your name and where you are joining this, masterclass from in the chat. All right. So I want us to get as interactive as possible. So maybe my name is Balaji. I'm joining from Ghana. My name is Rosaline. I'm joining from the US. Right? Can we drop all of that in the chat? I want to see us, getting all interactive. Okay. So can we drop our name and where we are joining from in the chat? So our name and where we're joining from. Can anyone hear me on this call? Okay, fine. So I think I can see, Daniel from Ghana, right? Fantastic, Daniel, right? Fantastic, right? So I can see Chidi joining from Lagos, right? So let's keep that coming. So, your name, so, and where you're joining us from, right? Your name and where you are joining us from, okay? So let's get very interactive, okay? So you're going to want to get very interactive because, okay, we are going to be explaining a lot of concepts to you, and then whatever you don't understand, feel free to drop, a question in the chat. Feel free to drop a question in the chat. So we have Emmanuel from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Fantastic. Right, Emmanuel, welcome to the session. So well, let's keep that coming in. Let's keep that coming in. All right. So I have a couple of people in the chat already. Okay. So I can see that we have more people joining on the call. So if you're just joining this call, welcome to this 10 Analytics Masterclass session. And I want us to get interactive. So we're basically introducing ourselves. So basically introducing ourselves, right? So you want to drop your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. Okay, so I see Emmanuel from Port Harcourt, Chidi from Lagos, right? Daniel from Ghana, all right? So keep that coming in, keep that coming in. So also, there's another thing I want us to pay attention to, right? So there's going to be an attendance form that is going to be dropped in the chat, right? So this attendance is for you to fill so that you can get the recordings from this session, so that you can get the materials that are used, for the training. Okay, so there's going to be an attendance form that's going to be passed in the chat. All you want to do is fill in those attendance forms, right, so that you can get the recording of this entire session. You can get the resources. It's going to be an amazing one where you're going to be learning how to, build an ETL pipeline And this is a project that you can add to your portfolio as a data engineer, as a cloud engineer. All right. So while we keep that, coming in, all right, and while we get interactive in the chat, I'm going to do a little bit of introduction, about Analytics. So who are we? All right, what do we stand for? Right, so we are a leading edtech firm, right, focused on providing specialized training in technology skills and delivering comprehensive data consulting services. All right, so basically, what did I just say? So we exist to bridge the gap between, the classroom experience and transitioning into your first tech role, or peradventure, if you are currently working in a role that is non-tech related and you're looking to transition into the tech space, that is why we exist here at Analytics. And we have helped over 2,000 people transition from the classroom into their first tech role, okay, all across the UK, the US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Okay, so we are committed to making technology sector more accessible through premium experiential training in data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, cybersecurity, and AI engineering, right? So these are some of our course offerings, and these are the programs that you can come in and register for, and then, get personalized guidance as you are, transitioning into the tech space, right? So a very quick one about me. Right. My name is Mobolaji Paluba, and I'm a data scientist and an MLOps engineer with half a decade experience in data analytics and AI engineering. So my experience spanned data science and MLOps, simplified UX USA, data analytics, Moise Consulting Canada, AI engineering, Zara Health Limited Nigeria, and I've worked in the health sector, the financial services, and the edtech sector. Right. That's a very, very quick one about me. So right now, I'm going to be bringing up a very fantastic facilitator that's going to be taking us, the session this evening, right? She's a seasoned professional, right? She has been in the tech space for, close to half a decade right now. And she's going to be bringing her expertise and walking us through how we can, build this ETL pipeline using AWS, right? So this is going to be an educative section for those that are just, getting into cloud engineering or data engineering for the first time, or if you have been in that space, there is something to learn for everyone. So I'm going to pass the mic right now to Taiwo, and she's going to be introducing herself. Hi, Taiwo. Welcome to the session.
Hi, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So I'll just quickly share my screen while I do that. All right. So hello, everyone. Welcome to this masterclass. And I'm Taiwo, a data professional with years of experience in the data industry. And I've experience in ETL processes, data warehousing, and I've also successfully trained students, equipped them with the skills to excel in their data roles or even in their data engineering roles. So my experience spans like different industries, technology, fintech, fast FMCG, right, and telecommunications. And I'm excited to actually take you on this journey, on this project we're going to work on today, which is building an ETL pipeline with AWS. So not to worry if you have not heard of AWS before, right? Or you have not built a pipeline before. Okay, so this masterclass will actually take you through that. So the first thing we're going to do today is to build your first ETL pipeline with AWS, and then we'll get into how you can get started immediately. And also, if others can do it, you can do it also, right? To show you some success stories and then show you also our discount. All right, so let's get started into what we have for today. All right, so today, by the end of the session, we should have an end-to-end ETL pipeline that extracts music data from Spotify and transforms this data using AWS services and make it queryable with SQL, right? So all these are key tools that you want to get started in as a cloud engineer, as a data engineer, working with AWS or even building pipelines, all right? So let's get into the case study for today. So we'll be looking into Music Hub, right? What's Music Hub all about? So they're like an analytics company, music analytics company, and they deal with majorly getting data, artist data, tracking their popularity, analyzing the old data so that they can make informed decisions, right? So with the massive volume of streaming data occurring daily, Music Hub requires a scalable, automated, real-time data pipeline to collect this data, process it, and analyze track performance data efficiently. All right. But currently, they have a problem that they are currently facing. So let's understand the problem, because in anything you want to do, any problem you are trying to solve, you have to first understand the problem you're trying to solve, right? You have to understand the problem. So Music Corp is currently running like all this process manually. The traditional data management process is relying on manual extraction, transformation, and reporting of this streaming analytics data. Okay, and this is creating problems for them, like slow processing, is leading to delayed insights into tracking popularity of this artist or their tracks or what song is trending. Also is leading to data inconsistency, okay? Because of this is done manually, and when you do this, errors can just creep in at any time, okay? The artist name can get misspelled or miscalculated, okay? And it's also leading to limited real-time insight because they're not getting this data on time. So to solve these challenges, the solution is they need a modern cloud-based data engineering pipeline that would automatically ingest data, process it, and store the data in real time while ensuring accuracy and scalability. All right, so many of us are familiar with Spotify. I'm sure we all use Spotify right? So if you're familiar with Spotify, just give it one in the chat box, in the chat. If you're familiar with Spotify, use it to stream music. If you're familiar with Spotify, give a one in the chat. All right, Lucky said it's familiar one. All right. Chidi said one. All right, that's good then. So one thing I need you to know is that data flows from Spotify. Everything you do on Spotify, when you listen to a music, that data comes from there. Even when you play a song, you pause a song, or you skip a song, every data is generated from everything you do on Spotify, okay? And this data is collected so that we can use it to understand trends. What song is trending? Who likes this particular song? Who likes this particular artist? Okay, so every data that is generated is used for something, is used to understand what is going on, is used to make informed decisions. Okay, that's why data is very, very important in the world we are today. All right, so let's continue. So what's the rationale for this project? Okay, so why does Music Hub need a cloud-based solution? Okay, so let's look at it this way. Let's look at it at their traditional approach. Probably they have to buy servers, or they have to start installing databases, or maybe they're hiring a team to just maintain everything. And they're also worrying about security of the data. Meanwhile, they can do this on the cloud without having to worry about anything on AWS. All they just need to do, without having to spend so much money, they can just pay for what they use. They pay for what, and there's built-in security in AWS. That's the good thing about it, because that's why they need a cloud-based data pipeline using AWS. And this would allow them to automate their data ingestion, okay? So instead of having someone to manually download CSV files, we can just connect directly to Spotify API and pull in data automatically. No worries, right? We'll just pull in the data. And then it also allows us to process large-scale data efficiently using serverless compute, right? We can also store this data. So if we're working with large data, we can store the data in S3 buckets, which is the data lake that we can use. And then it also allows for real-time reports, dashboards, and just allows you to enhance trend detection faster, okay, by analyzing this music data that is coming in, okay? All right, so moving forward, the aims of this project is to centralize data storage. We want to centralize data storage. We also want to automate data ingestion and processing, okay, using AWS Glue, which we will also look into. And we also want to transform and standardize this data and also enable real-time analytics, because that's like the end goal, all right? We're not just collecting this data. We want to use it for something. We want to use it to make actionable insights that will help these business users, these business owners, to make informed decisions. All right, so this is the tech stack we'll be looking at today. We'll be using Spotify API, Python, AWS Glue, Amazon S3, and Amazon Antenna. So this is just an overview, the data flow architecture. So our data is coming in from Spotify API and connects do our ETL using AWS Glue, and we'll load it in S3 bucket, and then we'll create connect it to Glue catalog that will crawl our data in S3 and connect to Amazon Antenna, where we can query our data directly. And this can also be connected to our analytics dashboard. And we can even get to schedule this so that it can run daily, hourly, whenever we want it to run. All right, so let's get started to what we have today. Let's get started. So I'll just all right. So let's get started. I'm sure we're all excited and we can't wait. All right. So the first thing we want to do is, like I said, we're getting data from Spotify. And we're going to be using Spotify API. This is our data source. And what I have here is the Spotify for developers. So all you just have to do is just register, sign up, and create an app, right? So I already created an app before. But if you want to create an app, you can just click here, create app, fill in the details, click on Web API, save, and then you automatically have your client ID, because we need the client ID, this secret key that would enable us to use this API better. All right, so let's move along. So I've created my app. So I have my client ID and also my client secret, which we'll be using as we go on to the ETL pipeline. All right. So now this is AWS interface. So this is AWS console. So if you don't have an account, you can create a free tier account, which you can use. And you don't have to pay for the free tier. You can just use, although there's a limit to what you can use, and so you don't get overcharged, right? So this is the interface of AWS, and the first thing we'll be doing is to create our S3 buckets, right? Create our S3 buckets to store our data. Create our S3 bucket to store our data. So you can search for it here, S3. And you have it here. I'll just click on this. All right, so this is S3 bucket. This is the data lake I explained earlier, where you can store data, thousands, millions, billions of data, right? So what I'm going to do is create a bucket that we're going to use for this class. All right, so I'll name my bucket masterclass ETL. Okay, I can just say Spotify into ETL, Spotify ETL. All right, so we're going to name our bucket masterclass Spotify ETL, okay? So I want to make sure that this name is not taken, and then we'll leave all other things as they are and just click on create bucket. All right, so our bucket is successfully created, as you can see. here, masterclass Spotify, and you can see it's empty, right? We don't have any data right here. We don't have any data right there. All right, so what's the next thing we need to do? We've created our storage where our data is going to be stored. The next thing we want to do is create our IAM role. Now, I'm sure some of them have not heard of IAM role or IAM when you're working with cloud, especially AWS. So this is just making sure that instead of having to use passwords, you can just create roles and assign permissions. Okay, it just makes things more secure. Okay, so you are assigning a specific role, a specific permission to do this. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So I'll just search for it. IAM. Okay, so it's basically just giving access, managing the access of what you can use in AWS, the services that you can use, what permission you can assign to these services. Okay, so I'm going to create a role. So I'll come here, click on roles. Okay, and click create role. So just click on AWS service, but I will want to use. And then we want to specifically use it with our glue, AWS glue. So I'm going to type glue and click on glue. That's the service I'm majorly using. So click next. Okay, and now the permissions that we want to assign to this role. What things can this role do? What can they do with this glue service? So we want to give them full access to glue service role. So we want, okay, I'll just type it AWS glue. AWS glue service role. Okay, this is it here. AWS glue service role. So I'll tick that. I also want to give access to Amazon S3, full access. So just type it there, Amazon S3. Okay, so this is it here, Amazon S3, full access. So also click that and then click on next. Okay, so you can try to give the role a name. So you can just give it new ETL, your ETL. And this is just a short description that saying, okay, allowing Glue to call AWS services on your behalf. Okay, I'll leave all other things and click on create role. All right, so our role has been created successfully. So without wasting so much time, so we've created our storage, we've created also our role that we're going to make use of. So the next thing I want to do is get right into creating our ETL job. All right, and we're going to do that using Glue. So we'll just search for it, search for the Glue, AWS Glue, and this is it right here. So I'll click on it. All right, and the next thing I want to do is click on ETL jobs, ETL jobs. All right, so this is the interface here. So I'll click on the script editor because we're going to actually write some codes. Like I mentioned, we're going to use Python. So script editor, and instead of using Spark, we'll be using Python. Okay, Spark is when you're handling much more data, big data, right? Maybe greater than 100 gig data. Okay, so but we're going to currently use Python for this because we're not working like with large data. And we'll leave it as start fresh and then create scripts. All right, so this is our interface. This is our editor where we're going to write all our code. So let's just get started. But before we get started, let's actually create the job details. Let's configure the job details before we get started. So we can give our job a name. So we can just say Spotify ETL. Okay. We can give it a description also, ETL pipeline for Spotify data. Okay. And then the role we created earlier, which is the glue ETL, we'll assign it there. Okay. The glue ETL, we leave it as PowerShell. We'll also leave it as this Python version, Python 3.9. Leave every other thing and click on advanced properties. Now, this is very, very important. This is very, very important. So we have the paths to where our script is going to be saved in the S3 bucket. We'll leave that also. So now the very important thing I want us to take note of is these job parameters. Don't forget we're working with client ID. That's like the API key, the client secret, and the client ID. So we want to be able to add these parameters so that our ETL job will run smoothly. Okay. So what's the first thing we're adding? We're adding the Spotify. So Spotify. Okay, let me just check. So we have the client ID and we have the client secret. All right. So I just wanted to confirm something. Spot TP. Client ID. All right. And I'll copy what we have here from our Spotify API and paste it here. All right. So add another parameter for the client secret. The client secret. So Spot TP. Now, I'm sure you're hearing me say Spot TP. So Spot TP is like the library in Python that we can use to interact with Spotify, with this Spotify APIs. Well, we'll also add that, we'll add that to this as a module, as a Python module that would be installed. Spot TP, client secrets, client secrets. All right. So I'll also copy the client secret. All right. And you paste also. So I'm also going to add another parameter that will store our bucket name. Don't forget, we are working with S3 buckets, right? So we'll also add the parameter for that. So S3 bucket name. S3 bucket name. Okay. And then just to check what we stored for our buckets, I'll just open this in a new tab so we can have access to that. Okay, so we stored our bucket name as master class Spotify ETL. So I'll copy that and also paste here. Okay, and the last parameter we'll be adding is this first thing you're seeing here, additional Python modules, which is the Spotify Python module we're going to be using. And that will be Spot TP, okay? Spot TP. We use Spot TP. All right, so that is finalized. So I've put all our client ID, client secret, the module that we're going to be using, and would save this. We would save this. We will save this. So save. Now we can get to writing our scripts. Okay, let's get started. Let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is to import all the libraries we'll definitely be working with. Okay. So first import the libraries. So imports OS, which is operating system. Then we'll also OS. Okay, import pandas, which we'll be using to also clean our data. So pandas is used to clean data, manipulate data, right? You can use it to clean your data, transform your data. So we'll also be importing that, import pandas as PD. So this PD is like a short form. See, you don't want to be writing pandas every time you want to make use of this. So you just shorten the name as PD, right? PD. So the next thing I'm going to be importing is Spot TP. That's the library I'm working with, right? The one we added earlier to install. So import, sorry, supposed to be from Spot TP dot OAuth. So this is for authentication, to authenticate the credentials we entered. Okay. import Spotify client's credentials. Spotify credentials. All right, so that is done. So from spottp.oauth to import Spotify client credentials. All right, so that is done. Next thing we want to import is Boto3. Okay, so because we're working with S3, so we're going to import this. Import to 3. Okay, and so the last thing we're going to import is string IO. Okay, what is this used for? It's just used to let you read through a sequence of characters like text or file. Okay, so what we'll be using it for is majorly to write our data to a string or format it as a CSV file. Okay, so that's why we're going to import this. So from IO, import string IO. All right, so now we're done importing everything we need to import. So let's get started to our code. So the first thing we want to do is extract our data. Extract, right? So we're going to define a function for this. We're going to define a function that will extract our data. So a function is just like a recipe that you can use over and over again, okay? So def, and you start with the def. So def, and give your function a name. And what do we want to do? We actually want to extract Spotify data, the tracks data, right? Extract Spotify tracks. Okay, and then we want to give it what we call arguments or parameters. Like, what would this function take in? I hope you can all see my screen. Are we all still following? Can we see my screen clearly? If you're following, please put a 1 in the chat box. You can see my screen, put a 1 in the chat box. All right, I can see we are following. I can see we're following. All right, so let's continue. So we want to use what we call arguments or parameters. You know, we're taking in we're using client ID, we're using client secret. So to be able to extract this data, we need to attach it here. We need to say, okay, taking this client ID, taking this client secret, and use it to extract the data I need from Spotify. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to call the client, give it the client ID, then also the client secret. The client secret. All right. Now, the next parameter we're going to put here, the next argument, okay? So parameter is like how many you're putting in this function. So the next argument I'm going to put here is the artist name. So what particular artist are we getting data from? So let's check. So let's say we say Spotify artists. So we can just pick one. Okay, we have so many. Let's say we want to pick Drake. We can pick Drake or Taylor Swift. There are so many. So anyone goes. So we can just also put it there. Artist name. So we can say Drake. You can say Drake. All right. And then we can put a limit on how much data I want to extract. We can say, okay, I'll probably limit 50, limit 100. Okay. So for this class, we'll use limits of 50. Okay. That will be extracted. So limit 50. All right, so we can get started with our function. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we have given our function name, we've put in the parameters. So what we're going to do next, we want to create how we can initialize the Spotify for the authentication we want to do to create the connection to our Spotify API. So that's what we want to do here. So give that name, the variable name SP, and we'll call on the spot TP. Okay, dot spot TP, Spotify. So spot TP dot Spotify. Okay, so don't forget it's like creating a connection. Okay, this is like creating a connection to our API, Spotify API, so that we can be able to extract the data. And then we use the auth manager. Auth manager, which is Spotify client credentials. Spotify client. That's what we imported earlier on. This that we imported here. That's what we're calling here right now. All right, so Spotify client credentials. I want to tell you, okay, for you to create the connection, you need the client ID and the client secret. You need the client ID and the client secret. So I would say client ID equal to client ID. Comma. I would also create for the so client secret also. Client secret equal to client secrets. All right, so that is done. That is done. So this is creating a connection. Don't forget, a connection to Spotify. It's creating a connection to Spotify. Now, once it creates that connection, what is the next thing? We want to get our data, right? Once I've established the connection, we want to get our data. All right, and to do that, we're going to create what we call like to search for this name. Don't forget the artist name we're using is Drake, right? So we want to first search for the artist Drake and then extract the track for this artist, and the limit you already gave it, that's 50, right? So we're going to do that. So we'll store the results in the variable name called results. Okay, and this SP that we've used here, we've assigned everything here. Everything here is already, you know, when you're giving a child a name, a baby name, and you're going to be calling that child by that name for as long as they live, right? So that's what we're going to do. Instead of having to call all this, write all this again, we've assigned everything to this SP. So whenever I want to call this SP, create a connection, we'll just call on the SP dot search. Okay, but saying that we want to search for something. What are we searching for? What are we searching for? So search. Okay, and what we're searching for, first of all, is our artist. That's Drake. We're searching for our artist, Drake. We're searching for our artist, Drake. Okay, so say artist. Artist, and give it the artist name, which is the artist we already put here. This artist name. This artist name is what we want to call here. Okay, the artist name. Artist name. The artist name. All right, so after doing that, we also want to check the type. What type of data are we tracking? What data are we tracking? So are we collecting? That's the track data. The track data. So type with a track equal to track. So type equal to track. And what's the next thing? The limit of the data that we already specified before, which is 50, would also use that. So limit equal to the limit we already specified up above equals to this limit, 50. Okay, equal to that limit. Now, after doing this, after we've searched for the artist name and we've also searched for their track, we're going to store the result, that's the tracks. Also take the result of the tracks and store it in a variable name called tracks. Okay, don't worry if you don't understand all this. Once you join the training program, we teach you what a variable name is or variable assignment, right? But I'm just trying to also explain so that you understand what a variable assignment is. So we're assigning the result of these tracks back to this track. Like I said, yeah, like you're naming somebody, giving a name to somebody that you call. So results. Okay. Tracks. And then the items. All right. So the next thing is we want to store this data. This data that is coming in, this tracks data that is coming in, we want to store it now in a list. We want to store it in a list. And to do that, we're going to create an empty list for this. Okay, we're going to create an empty list for this. This is supposed to be under here. So we're going to create an empty list for this. So I'll say data equal to my empty list, where all my data will be stored. And I'm going to use what we call a for loop. I'm going to use what we call a for loop, or you can just, okay, I'll just use a for loop so it makes things easier. So for each track in the tracks data that we've collected, for each track, for track in tracks, I want you to add it, append it to this empty list, append it to the empty list for tracks in tracks. Okay. What do I want you to do? I want you to append it. So data.append. Okay, so appending it to the empty list we already created here, this empty list data. Append it, each of them. Okay. And then we'll write the track name. We want to take the track name. Writing the track name. The track name. Okay. We're extracting the name of the track. So track. And we're taking out the name. The name. Okay. What do we also want to collect? We want to collect the album. Okay. The album, the release date, the popularity. We're getting all that. The album. So we'll also extract it from the album track. Okay, track. I want the album from this album. Okay, the name of that album also. So name of the album is what we're going to extract. So the next thing we want to extract is the release date. Okay, the release date for this track. So release dates. Release dates. So we'll do the same thing also, extract it from the album track. We'll say album. I want to extract the release date for that particular album. The release date. All right. So the next thing we'll extract is the popularity. How popular is that song? This is very key for our analytics. How popular is that song? So we just allow Music Hub to know what songs to run ads or promotion on. Okay, so we want to extract the popularity. Popularity. And we'll do the same thing also, the track. We extract it from our track, and specifically the popularity. Okay. Popularity. And the last thing we're going to do extract is the track ID. Okay, you notice there's a unique ID identifying all these songs on Spotify. Okay, there's a unique ID identifying each of them. So we're going to extract that ID. So extract the ID, track ID. So put it in quotes. Okay. And then the same thing, track, and then the ID. All right, so now we're done with our extraction. Okay, so to round up our extraction phase, what are we going to do? We return this as a data frame, because we're going to now move into the transformation phase where we're going to use pandas to do some transformation. Okay, so we're going to say return this as a data frame, return pd dot data frame. pd dot data frame. Okay, return this data as a data frame. Return the data as a data frame. All right. So now we're done with the extraction. Let's quickly move into the transformation phase. Let's quickly move into the transformation phase. So I'm also going to define a function for the transformation, which is also going to be def. Whenever you want to define a function, always starts with the def. Always starts with the def, def. Def transform, and the name of our function will be transform data. Transform data. Okay. And then we have the df. Okay, which is data frame. It's taking in, don't forget, I talked about arguments, parameters. So it's taking in the df. And so let's do one or two transformations. So first of all, we want to remove duplicates from our data. We want to remove duplicates. We want to standardize column names. Okay, so all these are things you can do as transformation. So df equal to df dot drop duplicates. We don't want any duplicates in our data. df dot drop duplicates. Okay, so after doing that, okay, we'll just add subsets of track ID. So subset equals to the track ID. So what is this? What does this mean? This subset equals track ID. It means that it will only consider rows as duplicates that have the same track ID. So if you have any rows that has the same track ID, it will eliminate that row. It will drop the duplicates for that particular row. Okay. So subset track ID. So we also want to drop null values. Okay, we also want to drop null values, and we'll use the drop now. Okay, any missing values, we don't want it coming in. So df equal to df dot drop now. Okay, and we can also say subset track ID and track name. Subset equal to, let me just put it, I'm having multiple. Since I have multiple, the track name and the track ID, so I'll just use the brackets. Track name and also the track ID. All right. So we're done with that. We can also format let's just do one more transformation and then we'll move to the loading because of time. Okay, we'll move to the loading. So we can also format the release date. Okay, we can format the release date, or we can even standardize the column names. So let's format the release date. So df, the release date that we're extracting. So what we want to do is to convert our release date into a proper date format. So that's what we want to do. Transform it into a proper date format. So release date, okay, equal to, and we have something in pandas that you can use directly to convert it to a correct date time. So you have the pd dot date to date time to date time. To date time. So pd dot to date time. Okay. I'm calling on the release date column again. So that's what we're trying to transform. So release date. Okay. Release date. I want to make sure that if we encounter any error, if we cannot peradventure we can convert any release date to the correct date format. We want to handle that very well, handle that error. So it will automatically just replace that value with not a time so that we can be able to track that. Okay. Instead of having our pipeline to fail without having to do this. So we'll just handle that using errors equals was. All right. So that's where we'll stop for the transformation, so that because of time, so we can do other things. We can do other things. Okay, so we can just quickly drop the null values also. So df equal to df dot drop now for our release date also. Subset equal to our release date. All right, so that's where we're going to stop with our transformation. So let's get into the loading aspect. So after extracting, we're going to load. Okay, so before we do that, let's return. Yes, please.
I think line 35, you were supposed to write drop NA.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Drop now. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope you're still all following, please. All right, so let's move to, so return df and we'll move to the loading aspect. So we'll also define a function for that. So def load to S3. Load to S3. All right. And what this will take in, the argument this will take in is the df that's coming in from the transformed, and also the bucket's name and our key also. So let's quickly do that. Let's quickly do that. So the df that we have claimed, the bucket's name that we're loading to, bucket's name, the bucket's name, and then the key. All right, so what we want to do is to be able to use the Boto3 to connect to our S3 to be able to store this data. Okay, so let's start with that. So CSV buffer. Don't forget that I explained what we're going to use the string IO to do. We're using it to create a file that can write text, that can write text into. We can write our text, our data as a CSV, write it into it. Okay, so we're going to use the string that we imported earlier, our string IO, which is this. Okay, so after doing that, we can now say df, so we want to convert it to CSV, dot to CSV, and we'll call this CSV buffer. Don't forget, it's like a variable name that we've assigned this string IO to, okay? So string CSV buffer, and we don't want to take the index along, okay? This data is coming, this CSV is, the data frame is coming with an index. We don't want it to follow along into our CSV file. So we'll say index equal to false. You're not coming along, all right? So index equal to false. So the next thing we want to do is then call our S3. So after converting to CSV, we can now use Boto3 clients to load to S3. So S3, we want to interact with our S3 buckets. So Boto3 dot client. Okay, that's client. I want to specify S3 there. S3, okay? And then would use the S3 bucket to put objects. We want to put objects in our S3 bucket, so we have to specify it here. So we want to upload the CSV file to our S3 bucket. So we'll say put object S3 dot put object S3 dot put object And then we'll specify the bucket name. So bucket equal to the bucket name. Bucket equal to bucket name. And key. So this key is like the path to the S3 bucket. Okay, it's just defining the path, specifies which key, which S3 bucket path we're going to save this. So key equal to key. So this should be in capital letter. Key equal to key equal to key. All right. And then we'll specify the body of our CSV. So body equal to our CSV buffer. We're getting the value. So CSV buffer that we already specified before, CSV underscore buffer, which is reading through our CSV file. That's the work of the CSV buffer. It's reading through our CSV file and want to get the value from the CSV. So we're going to use dot get value. Dot get value. And then we'll end it there. Okay, so we can just write a print statement. So print successfully uploaded. Uploaded. Data to S3. Okay, now to run the main function. So I've defined our function for extracting, for transforming, and for loading. Okay, don't forget these are just functions. We want to be able to call on these functions. That's what a function is. When you write a function, you can only it only performs, like it only executes when you call on it. Okay, so we're going to do that now in our main function. Okay, let me say def main. This is the main function. It's going to run everything that we are trying to run. So def main. And this is also where, don't forget to have not specified our parameters. We only specified it in our job, but we have to put it in our script, in our ETL job, so that it's able to use it to extract this data. So it's very important that it's in our script, this client ID, the secret name, the client secret, and the bucket name. Okay, but we're going to extract it from where we already stored it in the job details. That's what we just need to do. So client ID equal to the system dot argument. So this is us just extracting that from where we already saved it, instead of having to write it out here like that. Just SY. So don't worry if you don't, this seems complicated. It's just us extracting our details from where we stored it in the job, from the parameters we stored it. Okay, so we can use this in this script. Okay. Dot index. Dot index. And then we'll specify. So the first thing is TP client ID. Okay. TP client ID. Okay. And I'm going to add +1. Now, why are we adding +1 there? We're adding +1 so that because the value we want, the actual value we want, don't forget when we're storing it in the job parameters, if you remember, we first specified the name and then we specified the value. So is that value we want to get? So we're saying, don't forget in Python, you have 0, 1. So we're going to say, okay, +1, what we have, the additional one, that's the second one, that's what we want to get, not the name. We want to get the value itself that we stored. Okay, so +1, that's why we're using this +1 for this, and that's what we're going to use also for all others that we're adding to this. So same with the so I'll quickly do this also. So I'll change this to the client secret so that it's much faster. client secrets. I'll do the same thing also for the bucket's name. The bucket's name. So we have S3 bucket's name. S3 bucket's name. All right, so we're done with that. Now, let us now call our functions. Let's extract our data, let's transform it, and let's get our data. Okay, this is already now. I spent 1 hour, okay? So let's quickly do this so that we can get into what we're doing. So I'm going to use error handling here. So try. Okay, I stored everything as client ID. So this should be client secret. Client secret. Client secret and also bucket's name. Okay. The bucket's name. Okay. So we're saying we want to start with the extract. So df raw equal to, we'll call on our extract function. Don't forget the name we gave it, that's what we're going to use. So extract, I'll just copy it to this, with the client ID and the client secret. Okay. So extract this data with our client ID and our client secrets. Okay. The next one we want to do is the transform. Okay. So df clean. Let me just write extracts. Transform. Okay, so df clean is the one that's going to store our clean data. So we'll call on our transform function, transform, and execute it. Transform data. Okay. And we're taking this df row. It's taking in this df row, the data we have stored there, taking it and cleaning the data, df row. Okay, so the last thing is our load. Okay. The last thing is our load. Hashtag load. Okay. So this also will do the same thing. We'll first specify how we want to save this data in S3. So the S3 bucket, S3 key equal to the parts of how we want to store the CSV file. So we'll say specify Spotify / clean tracks. So this will store this clean data in a folder called Spotify, and it will store the name of our CSV, clean tracks.csv. Okay, clean tracks.csv, and then we'll call on the load function. Load to S3, and we're taking in the df clean. We're also taking in the bucket's name. And also the S3 key. All right, so after doing that, we finally now want to run the whole pipeline. But before we do that, don't forget we are using error handling. So I'm going to say exception. If an error occurs, except something happens, except exception, you raise an error. Okay, raise an error. Exception. Okay, as E, I want you to raise an error. So if something happens, raise an error. So just print out something that, okay, pipeline failed, so job failed. And then you raise an error for that. Raise E. Okay, and then we can now go ahead, finally call our pipeline. So we want to run the main function now. So if name equals main, so do this underscore if name equal to our main underscore main. Okay, that's the main we specified here. This main, def main. So if it's equal to main, what should you do? Run the main, okay? Run the main. So main, call on that function. And that is the end of our script, okay? So we extracted, we transformed, and we loaded to the S3, okay? So let me just go through this, run through this so that we don't run into any errors. So first we're extracting with the client ID, the secrets, client secrets, the artist name, and a limit of 50, and then connecting to our Spotify, and then we're saving the results. We're first searching for the artist, which is Drake, and then we're saving the results to these tracks, right? And we want to store all this in an empty list called data, and we're appending the track name, the album, the release date, and returning as a data frame. We're returning as a data frame. So the next thing, we're transforming this data, okay, and then we are loading it. So let's save this. Let's save this. So save. So save. Okay, so that has been saved. So now we can now run our ETL. So I'm going to run this. Run. So I'm going to track this. Sorry, I'm going to track this in this. So you can see that our ETL is running already. So let's wait for it and just give it some time. So we just wait. We'll just wait quickly. It's running, it's running, it's running. Time is fast spent, so we have to round up soon. We have to round up soon. Okay, so while we wait for this, we'll not be able to complete this, but I'll show you how you can create the crawler that will crawl your data in the S3 bucket and then connect to your antenna where you can query your data. Okay, so you can just search for it. Okay, this showing that it failed. Spot TP not defined. So we have an error here. Spot TP, so we're importing this. Let me check this. For TP. Okay, as far as I don't know why it's not. So I think I'll just specify it there. And that you don't run into any errors. So just check this again. Spot TP, okay. Let me just specify it here. Python models. Okay, save. So we imported that also. Okay, we're supposed to actually import Spot TP. So let me just import it and run that again. So import Spot TP. All right, so let's run this again. So save and we run again. Let's run it again. Import Spot TP and we track our running. So it's running again. So we'll just wait for that. So while we do that, I'll just show you what we have for the crawler. So at the side of this navigation, you can see data catalog, right? So you come to where you have crawlers. So I'll open it in a new link. Okay, it's failed again. Let me just see where the error is coming from. Spreadsheet. One of the error logs. So it's probably let me check the code again. Spreadsheet. So I'm just trying to check. Let's check. Keep saying so let me just check the error. Although we may have to round. I already did this before, so I'll just show you the process of what went through. If we can't figure this out, well, we should be able to figure it out once we check the error log. Okay. So you can just check in the logs. Okay. All right. So because of time, I'll just stop this. I'm going to show you the one I already worked on before and the end result. So we don't spend too much time. Yeah. So basically the end result is you having this data, you having Spotify, and you have the clean tracks, this data CSV. And then for your antenna, I'll just type antenna, where you already have your data that you can query. Okay, so this is the data that we already connected to the one I did before, the database, Spotify database, and this is the data here. So this is just a query that I tested on antenna run. So you can see this is the track name, the album, the popularity. Okay, so this is just showing you the end goal. Sorry, we couldn't complete the whole because of the error, because of time. If you had more time if you register for the course, we have more time to debug all these errors. But it's something minor that we can just figure out. But because of time, would have to end here today. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I hope we enjoyed the session so far, from creating the S3 bucket to the ETL and then connecting to antenna. All right. Hi, Obalaji, please, you can.
All right, Taiwo, thank you very much. Thank you. That was, very interesting. I was following myself and I learned a lot of things, right? So, you getting to understand the UI, of AWS, how AWS works, right? AWS is one of, the most reliable cloud platforms out there, right? So just getting first-hand understanding of how that works, was educative. I'm sure, a whole lot of us on the call also were able to learn a thing or two, right? So we saw how we could actually extract data, connecting using the API. Right, I was able to follow along, but that's fantastic, right? So you use the API, extract data, you transform the data to exactly what you need, and then you can load it, right? And so this is just, a beginner's type of project. There's a whole lot to learn, if you're actually coming for this program, and then get started on your journey to becoming a data engineer. So now I know somebody's going to tell me that, okay, now, so Mobalaji, so now that I know how to, do an ETL, now that I've seen how to do an ETL first and what is next, right? So how about I let you know, what this program is all about, right? How about I let you understand the roles and, how, the dynamics of, all our programs here at Analytics, not just data engineering, right? But all our programs here at Analytics, right? How is its structure? So first of all, what you want to understand is with this data engineering program that we just give you a snippet, right? And a whole bunch of other programs that offer analytics. We made sure that we did our research, okay, and then all our programs are we filtered all our programs through three major lenses. So you want to be able to understand that any program that you want to come in and learn ERT analytics with us, number one, they are easy to learn. Okay, so don't get scared. We have fantastic moderators and facilitators that will help you hold your hand and help you understand all these concepts from the beginners level to the masters level. Right. Number two is they are easy to transition into. So there's a lot of questions we get from people when they say things like, I don't have a tech background. I did not study computer science in school, computer engineering. Can I transition still into the tech space? So the easy answer is yes, you can get into tech, right? Because we'll make sure that all the programs we have here at Analytics, they're programs that are easy to transition into. There's some programs that are not easy to learn. There are tech programs that are not really easy to transition into. You need some sort of, computer science background, to be able to get into them. So for example, you have a particular tech career path like robotics engineering, all of those programs, they might have a little bit of complexities where you need some sufficient, expertise from the educational side of things. But, all the programs we offer at Analytics, including data engineering, there are programs that are easy to transition into. Then you want to also understand that you have a high rewarding salary. So people that are looking to get into tech for the money, all right, that is also a valid, reason to get into tech. And all our programs here, they're programs that, that come with high rewarding salary. So now, how do I get started? That's always, the question. Also, you want to understand that our selection process was very thorough. We made sure that, you don't just come in, and learn a program, and let's say 2 years down the line, you're looking to transition into another career path because there is something that happened to the demand, of that particular role. So maybe the demand has dropped, or maybe AI has come for your job. That's the in thing right now where people are scared that okay, if I learn this particular career path, right, would AI come and sweep me away from my job? So what we did was we did what we call, an external validation from the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum is a professional body, right, that releases the future of job report. So they let you know which jobs are going to be in high demand, which jobs are going to be declining, all right? So we made sure that all the career paths that we're going to be training, our participants in here at Analytics, they are ones that are going to be in high demand in the next 15, 20 years. So in the next 20 years, you don't want to be scared about, oh, is AI going to come for my job? Is my job going to be, out of demand? So this is a chart showing us, the fastest growing jobs out there, right? And we can see that the number one on the chart is the big data specialist, and uh, that particular group contains the data analysts, the data scientists, the data engineers, right? So this particular program that we are, exposing on this particular, tech series, the data engineer, you want to be sure that this program is covered. You don't have any issues to worry about, right? So the data warehousing specialist, we can see that that is also a data engineering role. And all of these roles are in high demand, right? So, and this was validated by the World Economic Forum, showing that you would not be running, out of job anytime soon if you upskill into any of these career paths. So now, very quickly, right, how do I get started, right? How do I get started? Now, people need to understand the dynamics of the job market. Things have shifted. So some people are looking towards, going online to Coursera, YouTube, just trying to pick up a particular, training, get a certificate, and hoping that that is enough. Okay, the job market has absolutely shifted from that certificate-based system to a skill-based system. So hiring managers are not really looking for your certificate any longer. Okay, so you need to understand the intricacies of the job market, how you can rightly position yourself, right? Picking a particular tech role and how you can land a job in that tech role, right? So this was Elon Musk, right? Just earlier this year, while he put up a tweet and his company was actually looking to recruit new developers. And Elon Musk was saying that they do not care if you went to school, they do not care if you have worked in any fancy, any big name company, they do not care, whether you have a fancy degree. Just show us your code, and then our HR will be in contact with you. So this particular tweet radically shifted the dynamics of the job market, where recruiters are now looking for skill-based participants rather than participants that just come in and then just send out a piece of paper, go like, I have a certificate in this, and I think that I am actually deserving a job, right? And it just makes sense because there is always most times when I'm talking about this, I like to use this scenario to drive the point home, clearly. So now I'm going to be asking a question, right about now, and I would like us to provide, an answer in the chat box. So that you can see, the thought flow, so that you can see how logical, this new skill-based system of employing, participants is in the job market. So now let's assume that you are looking to go on a trip. So I'm asking a question to everybody right now. So you're looking to go on a trip, okay? And then it's the last minute, right? And your car developed a fault, right? So now you have two options, right? You have two mechanics that are looking to help you with a quick fix. Now, the first mechanic is somebody who says they are a first-class graduate from Harvard University, mechanical engineering, right? But he has no, showroom to show you some of the cars that he has worked with. He cannot show you some of the things that he has done, right? But he can tender you a paper to show that he has a first class from Harvard. And then now, on the other hand, you have this experienced mechanic who didn't go to Harvard, right? Who doesn't have all this fancy, education, but he can show you his garage. He can show you all the cars that he has worked with. He has worked with Benz, Aston Martin, Range Rover, So now here you are, in the last minute looking to make your trip. Who are you most likely to give your car to for the repair? I want you to drop a this in the chat if you are going for the Harvard graduates. I want you to drop a that in the chat if you're going for the experienced mechanic. So let's go. I want all of that in the chat. So who are you most likely to give your car to for a repair? If you are going for the Harvard graduates, I want you to drop a this. If you're going for the experienced mechanic, I want you to drop a that in the chat. Okay. So I can see Morumfolua, right? Morumfolua is going for a DAT. So she's going for the experienced mechanic. So Daniel also a DAT, Jay a DAT, right? So that makes sense. So I can see a lot of people are going for the DAT, right? So nobody cares about, you tendering your fancy certificate, right? We don't care if you went to Harvard. Show us what you have done, okay? So Clement is dropping a DAT. Show us what you have done. Just give us a sneak peek into your thought process. How do you, solve problems? Okay, show us a portfolio of the projects that you have worked on, right? And this is actually the approach, right, that hiring managers are taking, right now. They don't really care about, if you went to school to become a computer science, if you have a first class in computer science, if you study computer engineering back at school. What they care is, can you use Python? Can you use AWS to extract, to transform, and load? Can you show us some of the projects you have worked on, right? And if you can show them all of these things, right, walk them through your thought process, you will land a role, right, faster than a person that has that certificate. Okay, you would have that priority faster than them. So now, the question is this now, right? How do I pick up high in demand skills that is going to help me land a job in data engineering in 2025? What are the skills that I need to have? that is going to put me ahead of anyone has a fancy degree or all of that. Okay, what are the skills that I need to have? Now, I'm going to walk us through three major steps that you need to do that's going to guarantee you landing a role, whether data engineering, data analytics, data science. What you need is number one, you need the skill set. Like we just, we're able to settle that right now. You need the skill. Number two is you need a dedicated community. All right. There was a research that showed that most people that were landing, their first roles in tech, they were not landing their first role in tech through just, direct applications online, on all these job boards, right? They belong to a community where they had access to opportunities, right? So you need a skill set, you need, a community, and you need mentorship, right? You need mentors that have actually gone ahead of you that can tell you that, okay, this was a mistake I made. This is the path to follow. Go this route, go that route. And you will see that, you learning from your mentors, you are going to save yourself a great deal of time, a great deal of stress. You're going to get to your goal faster and in what? In little time, right? So now, I'm going to walk you through how we here at Analytics will be able to set up these three major structures, right? The skill set training, the community, and then the mentorship, right? So as a data engineer, what are the skills that you need? So once you come in for this program, data engineering at Analytics, right, you will be exposed to, number one, the introduction to data engineering. So like I said earlier, it is from the beginner's level to the master's level. So earlier on, you saw when my colleague Taiwo was doing all of the extract, transform, and load using AWS, using Python, importing Python libraries and all of those stuff. We are going to expose you to all of that. They're literally the beginner side of things. Then you're going to, learn SQL. So you saw when she was, trying to query a particular database, right? So that was using SQL, structured query language. So you will learn how to use SQL to set up a database and then also query a database. Then Python programming language, right? Over 90% of what she did, she used Python. So you will learn how to be able to code in Python. So beginning from, Python, introduction to Python, Python data types, lists, you have tuples, you have dictionaries, you have all of that. You're going to learn how to be able to define a function in Python. So you saw her doing what we call the DEF, right, which was, defining a function. So you learn how to define a function. So a function is basically a reusable code, right? So you learn how to do all of that, and then you learn how to be able to understand Python, pretty much how you can maneuver Python for your ETL processes. Then you will learn the Linux operating system, right? You will learn how to build custom ETL pipelines using databases, APIs, web scraping. So you saw how she used the, Spotify API, right? To be able to, extract data from Spotify, right? So you learn how to be able to use APIs to extract data from different applications, different platforms. Then you learn your Apache Spark, Apache Airflow, or data pipeline automation. So you can automate your ETL processes. Like, okay, so like I want you to extract data from this particular website every 5 days. Okay, you can automate that process, right? And then your cloud engineering, so GCP, Azure, AWS. So you learn how to be able to, use the Google Cloud Platform, the Microsoft Azure, and the AWS. So the AWS was what we use today, right? You get exposed to the GCP interface, the Azure interface. You understand how to use all of those interfaces, so that whatever company that you are landing a job at, right? Whether the companies, local, their own, local platform is Azure, GCP, or AWS, you'll be able to work, seamlessly in that company. Then finally, version control. So GitHub for your version control, and then ChatGPT and GitHub for Copilot. So what we've done is this, right? AI is actually a wave that is here to stay, right? And if you don't ride that wave, it's going to wipe you out. So what we have done is this: we have included AI inside all of our learning modules, right? Such that, you are able to leverage AI for your automation, for your productivity, and all of that, right? So this is what you will be exposed to in the program. The program is an entire 8 months program where you're going to be having 6 months of in-class training, right? And then 2 months of internship. So once you're done with us, we are going to pass you to another company to gain more, for your internship, where you can gain more real life business case scenario. You can work on more projects and all of that. So that is the way the program is structured, right? So now, I was saying earlier that what you need to learn a role, because the whole idea for you learning data engineering is because you want to learn a job. Okay, you need a high-paying job. You need to be able to get all of that fulfillment, right? So now we have the perfect, formula for that here at Analytics. So, like I said earlier, you need those skill sets. Number one, you need employability skills. So the thing is this: if you come in to learn data engineering, you are not going to be the only data engineer out there in the job market. What is going to separate you from the rest of these guys? What's going to give you that advantage, right? So the employability services that we offer here at Analytics is going to give you that advantage that is going to enable you to stand out in the job market. So what are you going to be getting? Number one, the CV review and revamp. So we're going to teach you how to be able to, tailor your CV to the particular role that you're applying to, such that you can, you are guaranteed an interview. I mean, you need an interview before you can land a role, right? But a lot of people are not even landing interviews. And the most, one of the top reasons, on this list is because their CV or their resume is not tailored to the particular role they are applying for. So they don't get called back, right? The ATS, which is the applicant tracking system, marks them down. Right, so they can't even get in front of an interviewer to let them know, what they are capable of. So number one, we're going to help you with that. Your CV review, how do you review your CV? How do you revamp your CV? How do you tailor your CV? Number two is LinkedIn optimization, right? So you need to have your LinkedIn optimized for you to be able to learn it, for you to be able to put yourself in front of a lot of recruiters out there. So I did a research, and last year, LinkedIn, right, did over $10 billion in revenue. LinkedIn is one of the highest recruiters of tech labor. So what does that mean? Your next job is literally flying on LinkedIn as we speak, right? But you need your profile to be optimized so that all these recruiters can easily locate you, they can easily find you, right? You have an optimized profile, you're going to get all these recruiters, they're going to shoot you DM for job offers without even applying for those jobs. You don't even have to apply for those jobs, but because your profile is optimized, I get a lot of DMs on LinkedIn all the time. Recruiters are trying to look for me. Are you available for this job? But why? Because I have an optimized LinkedIn profile. So we are going to be helping you to optimize your profile so that you can increase your visibility in front of all those recruiters. Then we're going to help you navigate the job market. So we're going to walk you through all the top job boards out there for remote roles, on-site roles, hybrid roles, okay? And then there's the sweetest part of this is this, right? We, here at Analytics, we are subscribed to some paid job boards, okay? We are subscribed to some paid job boards. And what happens is this: we have our data engineer scrape jobs from those job boards and send them to our students on a weekly basis. So you're going to be getting premium jobs to apply to on a weekly basis. Now, these are not jobs that are out there that, after the recruiters post them, in 1 hour, you can get like 100 applicants already. What are your chances, in landing that interview? But we have subscribed to some premium job boards, right? These job boards are not crowded, okay? And then once you come for the program, you get access to these jobs. So you'll be getting, premium jobs sent to your LMS profile, whenever you, are joined, whenever you have joined the community. So on a weekly basis, you are getting jobs to apply to, just to ease that job hunt phase for our students, right? So now, you apply to all those jobs. Now you get an interview. We will prepare you for your interview before you go in for the actual interview to increase your confidence, to increase your competence. We're going to walk you through how you can answer questions using the SIT approach, the STAR approach. Whenever an interviewer asks you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? You know what to say, you know what not to say, and all of that. Now you finally land the role, and your your recruiter is asking you for a job reference letter. Okay, so we will provide you a job reference letter. For example, if you have not worked anywhere as a data engineer before, we'll provide you that job reference letter that you were working with us as a consultant, and which is rightly so because we're a consulting firm. So once you join us, okay, we can absolutely immediately update your LinkedIn profile as to you having a consulting role at Tenalytics. So you're not appearing to the public as you're training with us, you are learning with us. No, you are consulting with us, right? So that actually goes there, and then you have the on-the-job support. So you finally land the role, and even when you're on your job, you have any issues, you can reach out back to us. We'll have our team of professionals help you, give you that soft landing on your job. So you're gonna have weekly mentorship sessions. So like I was saying earlier, you need mentorship. Okay, so we have a lot of mentorship going on at Analytics. So every week, Thursdays and Fridays are our mentorship sessions. So bring in professionals. They're going to help mentor you as to how to rightly position yourself, as to how you rightly network and all of that. Okay, so these are some of the things that you will be enjoying. And finally, the Upwork optimization. So Upwork is a freelance platform. We're going to help you set up a profile on Upwork, help you optimize it. Now, Upwork is that platform where you can get contract jobs on the side. So you can sell your skill. So you're looking to make a very quick $500, a very quick $1,000, on the side. Upwork is that platform where you want to be. So we're going to help you set up a profile, optimize that profile so you can start selling your skill and making money on the side. How amazing is that, right? So before I go on, let me walk you through some of our success stories, right? So Mobalaji, you won't tell me that. Can you tell me some people that have come in for this program and have landed jobs, right? You're saying that you will help us land roles. Can you give us, a bit of your testimonial? So sure, we have a lot of them, right? So this is Michael Oseyemi, right? He landed his first role as in tech as a sales engineer in software company in UK after completing his data engineering program with us, right? So Michael was absolutely elated on how the mentorship and the interview prep helped him land his role. Okay, so we're gonna give you the recording to this particular session. We're also going to give you the materials where you can literally listen to Michael right here. So you can click on here, listen to Michael, and see how elated he was, as to how the interview prep helped him land the role, as to how the mentorship was very key in him landing a role. Now, for you to get access to all the materials from this evening session, you have to fill the form that is going to be passed in the chat. So my colleague is going to be passing a form on the chat. You have to fill that form so that we can be able to get your information and send you the recording, send you the materials and the resources for this evening session. So you can verify all of these firsthand, right? So we also have Idris. Idris got a full-time job with Jaguar Land Rover in the UK as a data engineer after training with us. Okay, so this is his second role as a senior analytics engineer, right? And we provide references for him for the two roles. So you can see that when you need references, we are here to provide references for you, right? So this is not a fluke. This is something that we've been doing for more than 4 years now, close to 5 years, right? Where we have helped over 2,000 people transition into the tech space, land their role in tech, right? So now, somebody's going to say, Mobalaji, what are the next steps for me? What can I do next? I need to start off my tech career journey. I need to get into a particular program, whether data engineering, data analytics, whichever one is going to be the best fit for me. I need to get started so I can land a role. I can start, earning, fantastic and high rewarding salary. So now what's the next thing? So the next thing for you is for you to join our next cohort. We have a new cohort resuming for the 5th of July. All right, for the 5th of July, right? So how can you join this cohort? How can you join our next cohort? Right, so now you can join by making the payments, right? So the entire program The entire 8 months program originally cost $900, right? But because you're here and because you waited till the end of this session, right, we are offering a discount to the first 20 people to register. We had over 40 people join this call, right? We have close to about 25 people right now on this call. For the first 20 people that would register for this coming cohort, you'll be getting a knockoff, and you'll be paying just 70, or you'll be paying just $750, rather, $750. Okay. So, and the payment structure is also quite very flexible. Okay, where you can pay as low as $150, right, every month for the next 5 months. $150 every month for the next 5 months. Now, I'm going to walk us through how we can go ahead and make payments, okay? Now, my colleague is going to be dropping the payment link in the chat right now, right, so that you can actually secure your spots. All right, my colleague already dropped the payment link in the chat right now so you can secure your spot. So like I said, the discount enables you to pay just $750, right? But the payment structure is very, very flexible. Okay, you can pay in installments. You can pay up to 5 month installments where you're paying as low as $150 every month for the next 5 months. Okay, so now how do you do that? So now, if you want to lock in and pay for your data engineering, program this evening, you want to get started with us and enjoy the discount. All you want to do is when you click on the link, it's going to bring you to this page right here. Okay, this page on my screen. Scroll all the way down. Just scroll all the way down. You're going to see data engineering right here. Right here. So click on register for DE. It's going to take you to the page where you can make payments. Okay, click on register for DE. So 1 second while my screen loads. 1 second. So 1 second while my screen comes up. All right now. So this is where you get to make your payments, right? And like I said, we have like discount for the first 20 people to make payments, right? So I think today 3 people already make payments, so we have just 17 seats left. Okay, so it's actually a first come first serve basis. You have to hurry up and grab your slot. Now let's assume you are trying to make payments and you want to be very flexible. You want to pay 5 times. All you have to do is come down here, click on this 5 monthly payments right here, click on secure your seats, okay? And then click on proceed, right? So then you can put in your information here, your name, your email, and then go ahead to proceed and pay for products. Now, this is the most important part. Once you're done paying for products, right, you want to be able to go into your inbox. Just go into your email. You'll see a receipt of payments, right? A confirmation of payment. Take a screenshot of that payment confirmation, right? Come back to this landing page right here. This page that you landed on when you clicked on the link, then scroll back to the middle. You see here it says upload your receipts. So go ahead and click on this, and then you can upload your receipts. Okay. So once you're done doing that, we will get that confirmation on our end that you have made your payments, and then a team member will reach out to you, send you your welcome toolkit, and onboard you, and a link to onboard you for the program starting on the 5th of July. So that is how you can lock in your spots and be part of the payment and be part of the program, right? So we have 20 slots. 3 have already been taken. We have 17 seats left. You want to hurry, click on the link in the chat, copy the link, put it in your browser, go and lock in your spots. Once we have the first 20 people, okay, the discount is going to be taken down, and then the pricing reverts back to the original $900. Okay, so you want to hurry up and be able to make your payments, grab your slot while it's still on, and then you can then join the community. So now I'll be taking questions right now. So if you have any question as to what was taught this evening, or how you can lock in your spot, or the training structure, the timing, whatever question you have, you can drop that in the chat before we end this session. So right now, if you have a question, just type it in the chat. Type your question in the chat. Don't forget there is a form in the chat that you need to fill so that you can be able to get the resources of this program, and then you can be able to get the recordings also, right? And then the link to the payments is in the chat. You want to copy the link and then log in and make your payment as soon as you can so that you can get the discount, okay? So if you have a question right now, you can feel free to drop your question in the chat before we bring this session to a close. So if you have a question, you can drop your question in the chat. Any question, you can drop it in the chat. Any question as to our training, modules, the structure, drop your question in the chat. Right. Anything you need clarity to, right? So again, the links are in the chat. You want to go ahead and click on the link, fill in the attendance form so you can get the recording of the program, fill in the attendance so you can get the resources, right? And then also the payment link is in the chat to secure your spot as soon as you can. Okay, we have just 17 seats left out of 20. You want to hurry and grab a slot. All right. So I feel like there is no question. So I think we all, fully understood what was said in this session, right? So it was nice, to facilitate this session. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sticking to the end. I can't wait to see us all in the July cohort, resuming the 5th of July. Fill in the attendance form, copy the payment link, lock in your spot as soon as you can by making an installment as low as $150, right? And then I'll be looking forward to seeing us in the July cohort, right? So if there will be no further question, okay, so I can say a question, is this class an online class or one-on-one? So the classes are online, right, obviously, but you also have access to your facilitator, to get that personalized approach. So while one-on-one approach with the facilitator, that is also available, okay? So you're gonna be hosted on a community that is on the WhatsApp group. You're gonna have your instructor together with you in that group. So you can actually DM them, get all the clarity, get all the information that you need, and then you have that personalized approach, okay? So that happens in the session, all right? So any other question before we draw the curtains this evening? Any other question? Any other question before we draw the curtains? So I am in Sierra Leone. Am I eligible for the class? So absolutely yes, right? So our classes is it's an online class, right? So wherever you are in the world, right? As long as you have a computer system and you have an internet connection, you can join the class. Okay, you can join the cohort. All right. So yes, you can join from Sierra Leone. We have people joining from the US, the Canada, the UK. We have people joining from Canada, from Ghana, Nigeria. We have people joining from China. Okay, we have people joining from Germany. Right. So it's actually a fantastic, opportunity for you to be able to network, right? You meet people from all over the world. So you have people in your cohort, in your class, on your group that are from literally all over the world. You can network, you do all of that. So yes, you can join from everywhere, that you are in the world, okay? So any other question, put it in the chat. I'm waiting to answer your questions. Any other question? Any other question? If you have a question, just drop it in the chat. If If you have a question, drop your question in the chat. The payment link is in the chat. You can go ahead and click on that, make your payments as soon as you can before the discount goes away. So, all right, this is 10 minutes to 10, right? So if there are no further questions, thank you everyone for joining. Like I said, I can't wait to see you for the July cohort, right? So thanks for joining, cheers, and bye for now.